He was 10,000 miles away, sitting in a hotel room in Hong Kong, scrolling through his phone when the news hit. Rory McIlroy, the defending champion at both the Players and the Masters, had just pulled out of Bay Hill with back spasms. Phil Mickelson has seen this movie before. He's watched superstars crumble under pressure. He's watched bodies break down at the worst possible moments. He's watched the golf world hold its breath while its biggest stars fight to stay healthy. But this time, Mickelson didn't just watch. He picked up his phone and started typing. And what he just said about Rory McIlroy's sudden withdrawal has the golf world questioning everything they thought they knew about the injury, the timing, and what really happened that morning at Bay Hill. Subscribe for the full story of Phil Mickelson's explosive comments and what they mean for Rory's future. March 7, 2026 started like any other tournament Saturday at Bay Hill. Rory McIlroy arrived at the course feeling confident after a second-round 68 that moved him to 4 under par and into the top 10. A weekend charge was possible. The tournament was still in play. But something happened during his pre-round preparation that changed everything. McIlroy began his warm-up in the gym, a routine he's followed for years. That's when he felt it, a small twinge in his back. Nothing major, the kind of thing that usually works itself out. He moved to the range, hoping to hit through it. He didn't make it. After just a few minutes hitting balls, the twinge became something worse. Muscle spasms took hold, and McIlroy realized he couldn't continue. About 30 minutes before his scheduled 12:55 p.m. tee time, he made the call. He was withdrawing from the Arnold Palmer Invitational. It was only the second time in his PGA Tour career that McIlroy had been forced to withdraw from a tournament. The first came in 2013 at the Honda Classic. For a player who has built his reputation on durability, this was a shock. The statement came quickly. While warming up in the gym this morning, I felt a small twinge in my back. As I started hitting balls on the range before the round, it worsened and developed into muscle spasms in my lower back. Unfortunately, I'm not able to continue and have to withdraw. As McIlroy got into his car to leave Bay Hill, he gave a thumbs up to reporters and said 3 words that offered a sliver of hope. I'm all good. But the golf world wasn't convinced. And 10,000 miles away, Phil Mickelson was paying very close attention. Phil Mickelson was in Hong Kong preparing for LIV Golf's latest stop at the Hong Kong Golf Club in Fanling, when the news of Rory McIlroy's withdrawal flashed across his phone. The contrast couldn't have been starker. Mickelson, at 55, was still competing, still grinding, still doing things his own way on a rival tour. McIlroy, at 36, was suddenly sidelined, his body betraying him at the worst possible moment. Mickelson has seen this story play out before. He's watched superstars rise and fall. He's witnessed careers derailed by injuries that came at the worst possible moments, and he's been on the receiving end of criticism himself, plenty of it. So when reporters caught up with him in Hong Kong and asked about McIlroy's situation, Mickelson didn't offer the usual platitudes. He didn't say, "get well soon," or "thoughts and prayers." He offered something far more revealing. "You know, I've been watching Rory's career for a long time," Mickelson said, leaning against a golf cart at the Hong Kong Golf Club. "I've seen him at his best, and I've seen him struggle. And what I've learned over 30 years on tour is that these moments, the injuries, the setbacks, the doubts, they tell you more about a player than the victories ever do." The reporters leaned in. This wasn't going to be a standard interview. Rory's got a decision to make now, a big one. He can push through, try to defend his titles, risk making things worse, or he can step back, be smart, and hope the body heals in time for what really matters. I've been there. I know what that feels like. Mickelson paused, letting the weight of his words settle. The thing is, when you're young, you think you're invincible. You push through everything. You ignore the signals your body is sending, and sometimes you pay for it later. Rory's not young anymore. He's 36. He's got to start thinking differently about his body, about his career, about what really matters. The reference to his own career was unmistakable. Mickelson has been through more health scares than most players could imagine.
Psoriatic arthritis, countless injuries, the wear and tear of 3 decades at the highest level. He knows what it means to play through pain, and he knows what it costs. If Rory asks me for advice, I'd tell him one thing: listen to your body. It's the only one you've got. Trophies come and go. Health is forever.
Phil Mickelson knows something about defending titles. He's won 6 majors across 3 decades, and he's felt the weight of expectations that come with being the champion. So when he looked at Rory McIlroy's situation, he saw something deeper than a simple back injury. The pressure of defending is real, Mickelson said in Hong Kong. It's not just about golf, it's about expectations. It's about everyone expecting you to be the same player you were last year. It's about the weight of history. And when your body starts acting up, that weight gets heavier. McIlroy was supposed to defend 2 of the biggest titles in golf within a 5-week window: the Players' Championship, where he outlasted J.J. Spaun in a dramatic playoff just 12 months ago; the Masters, where he finally captured the green jacket in 2025 to complete the career Grand Slam, becoming only the 6th player in history to achieve that feat. That's not just pressure, that's a crucible. I've been there, Mickelson continued. When you're defending, every practice round feels different, every media session feels different, every shot feels like it matters more because you know what it felt like to win. And when your body isn't cooperating, that mental weight becomes physical. It's a vicious cycle. Mickelson spoke from experience. In 2006, he was defending his Masters title after winning his first green jacket in 2004. He finished tied for 3rd. Respectable, but not the repeat he dreamed of. The physical and mental toll of trying to stay on top had worn him down. Rory's dealing with that now, Mickelson said. He's not just recovering from an injury, he's recovering while knowing that every day he's not practicing, every day he's not preparing, is a day his competitors are gaining ground. That's a heavy load. The numbers backed up Mickelson's concern. McIlroy's withdrawal from Bay Hill was only the 2nd of his PGA Tour career. His durability had been one of his greatest assets. Now, suddenly, that durability was in question. The good news is, it's muscular, not structural, Mickelson noted, referencing the reports that McIlroy's back issue wasn't a disc problem. Muscles heal. They take time, but they heal. The question is whether Rory has enough time before the Players and the Masters. Mickelson paused, then added a final thought that hung in the air like a fog. Sometimes the smartest decision is the hardest one. Pulling out of the Players would be brutal for him. He's the defending champion. He loves that tournament. But if it means being ready for Augusta, it might be the right call. Only he can make that choice. Phil Mickelson has spent the last 4 years as the face of LIV Golf. He was the first major champion to defect, the first to burn bridges with the PGA Tour, the first to take the Saudi money and the public beating that came with it. When he speaks about Rory McIlroy's situation, he speaks from a place of profound understanding, not just of injury, but of isolation. Rory's out there right now dealing with this thing alone, Mickelson said in Hong Kong, where he was supposed to be playing, but instead found himself watching from a hotel room due to his own family health matter. When you're hurt, when you're sidelined, the tour doesn't wrap its arms around you. They move on. The next tournament is always waiting. The next star is always ready. It was a pointed observation from a man who knows exactly what it feels like to be on the outside. Mickelson hasn't played a competitive round since August 2025. He's missed the first 4 LIV events of the season, replaced by Wade Ormsby, and he's already 12 points behind the safety line in the LIV standings. If he doesn't return soon, he could lose his full-time status in the league he helped build. I'm dealing with my own stuff right now, so maybe I'm projecting a little, Mickelson admitted with a wry smile. But when I look at Rory, I see a guy who's got 2 of the biggest titles in golf on the line, who's got the weight of history on his shoulders, and who's suddenly realizing that his body might not cooperate. That's a lonely feeling. The contrast between the two couldn't be starker. McIlroy is the defending champion at both the Players and the Masters, the face of the PGA Tour's resistance, the player who once called LIV defectors duplicitous.
Mickelson is the defector-in-chief, the man who burned it all down and started over. But injury doesn't care about tours. Pain doesn't pick sides. "I've been in this game long enough to know that health is the only thing that really matters," Mickelson said. "Trophies come and go, money comes and goes, but when your body breaks down, when you can't do the thing you've done your whole life, that's when you find out who you really are." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. Rory's about to find out who he really is.
Phil Mickelson has spent 3 decades watching golfers navigate the crossroads of injury and ambition. He's seen careers extended by smart decisions and cut short by reckless ones. So when he looks at Rory McIlroy standing at that same crossroads, he sees a future that's entirely in the Northern Irishman's hands. "Rory's got a choice to make," Mickelson said, leaning forward in his chair at the Hong Kong Golf Club. "And it's not just about this week or next week, it's about the next 5 years of his career." The choice Mickelson referenced is the same one every athlete faces when the body starts sending signals: push through and risk compounding the injury, or step back, sacrifice short-term glory for long-term health. McIlroy's back issue first flared up during a gym warm-up at Bay Hill, then worsened on the range until he couldn't swing. It forced only the 3rd withdrawal of his career and sent him back to South Florida for treatment. The Monday text to Golf Channel revealed the injury was more stubborn than anyone anticipated, delaying his arrival at TPC Sawgrass. But here's what Mickelson understands that casual fans might miss. McIlroy isn't just defending one title, he's defending 2. The Players' Championship this week, where he joined Jack Nicklaus as the only 3-time winner, and the Masters in just over 4 weeks, where he'll return to Augusta National as the defending champion for the first time since completing his career Grand Slam. "I've been in that position," Mickelson said quietly. "You want to be everywhere. You want to defend every trophy. You want to prove that last year wasn't a fluke, but your body doesn't care about your ego. Your body just tells you the truth." McIlroy's truth is still unfolding. He's scheduled to travel to Pontevedra on Wednesday, likely missing his pre-tournament press conference, but hoping to be ready for his Thursday tee time alongside Xander Schauffele and Hideki Matsuyama. The PGA Tour has alternates ready. David Ford, Patton Kizzire, and Seamus Power are on standby. "The smart play is obvious," Mickelson concluded. "If there's any doubt, sit out. The Players is huge, but the Masters is forever. Rory knows that. The question is whether his competitive fire will let him do what's smart instead of what's tempting." For Mickelson, watching from afar while dealing with his own family health matter that's kept him out of 3 straight LIV events, the perspective is clear. Health comes first. Everything else is negotiable. Rory McIlroy's future will be decided in the next 48 hours, and the golf world will be watching. For more coverage of the biggest stories in golf, subscribe and hit the notification bell.